Today I'm going to teach you how to factor trinomials using the X method. The advantage of this one over the box and the AC grouping method is that you don't have to factor out a monomial in the process. And for some of you, that'll be a great relief. So here we go. I'm going to start with a simple problem. I would consider this a level 1 problem. And the reason I call it that is because there is a 1 in front of the x squared, which when you multiply your a value times your c value, it just looks like the c value. But I don't want you to not multiply your 1 times that because I want you to get used to it so that when we do have numbers bigger than 1 in front of the x squared, you'll remember to multiply. So here we go. 1 times 4 is 4. So my factor box looks like this. I know that because the 4 is positive, I'm going to be adding to get to my 5. Well, that would be the 1 plus 4. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an x. And in the top of the x, I'm going to put my first term, x squared. And on the bottom, I'm going to put my last term, plus 4. And then I'm going to put the 1 and the 4. But what are they? Are they positive or negative? Well, the 5 is positive, so both of these are positive. Now, what I'm about to do next might seem a little weird because it's going to give me the same thing, but it is something that we do when our numbers are bigger than 1 in front of the x squared. So I want to teach it to you now. And that is, you always divide both of these by the coefficient of x squared, your leading coefficient. So I'm going to divide them both by 1. The funny thing is that when you do that, they are the same exact number. And so our final answer on this side is just x plus 1, and this side is x plus 4. Because 1 divided by 1 is 1, and 4 divided by 1 is 4. All right. Now that seems pretty simple, right? All righty, here's another one where the a value is a 1. I'm going to do 1 times 20 is 20, and I'm going to go ahead and make a factor box. I am looking for, since 20 is negative, I'm looking for something to subtract to become 1 because that coefficient in front of the x is a 1. And so I see the 4 and the 5 right here. And when I look at that, because the 1 is positive, my biggest number has to be positive. So I'll have a positive 5 and a minus 4. Now it's time to make my x. I'm going to put my first term here, my last term here. I'm going to put a negative 4 and a positive 5. Once again, I'm going to divide by the a value, and once again, this really isn't going to change anything in this particular problem. And so when I'm done, I'm going to have an x minus 4 on this side and x plus 5 on this side. So my final answer is just x minus 4 times x plus 5. Have you ever noticed that when your a value is a 1, each of your binomials will also start with just 1x? Here are two that I've already done for you. If you are still looking to see if you can see any patterns, figure out what I'm doing, go ahead and pause the video, take a look at it, and then resume the video. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and try these on your own. And once you're done, start the video to see if you have the correct answers. Well, here you go. Did you get the same answers I did? I noticed one of the things I didn't do is show that I divided by 1. Did you? Remember that? All right, so here, hopefully you got both of these. You notice that the factors were the same, but they were used different because one of the twos was positive and one was negative. It's time now to take it up to the next level. And this is where my value in front of my x squared is bigger than 1. Here we go. We're going to multiply 8 times 5, and we'll get a 40. And just like everything else, we've got to come up with a factor box for that. I see that the 8 is positive, so we're going to be finding two values that are going to add to get to that negative 14. And I believe we see the 4 and the 10. To get to negative 14, both of them will have to be negative. All right, we're going to start our x here. I'm going to put a 5 squared at the top, the first value there, and the last value here, the plus 8. I'm going to actually start with the minus 10, and I have a reason for that over here, and the minus 4 over here. Now really, it does not matter which one you put where. Next, and this is where we talked earlier about dividing by the a value. and how at this point it's going to be more important. So I'm going to divide both of these by a 5 right here. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify if I can. And so on the left-hand side, that becomes a 2. So I can say this is an x minus 2. On the other side, you cannot simplify. And so I'm going to start it with x minus 4/5, but that's not going to work. And if you multiply that out, you would see that is not going to give you what you want. Next thing you have to do is take this denominator and put it as the coefficient in front of x. And so what that becomes is 5x minus 4. Your new binomials are your x minus 2 and 5x minus 4. Now, if you're looking at that going, what did she just do? Watch the next two examples and see if you can anticipate what I'm going to do and see if you can see patterns. Okay, here's our next problem. What would you do first? Well, if you said multiply the 9 times the 40, you are correct. And that'll give us 360. Oh boy, and then you're going to start the box here, and I'm going to tell you what, it is going to go on for a long time. So I'm going to cheat and tell you that the numbers we're looking for are 15 and 24. Alrighty. So because we've got a negative in front of the 40, we are subtracting to get 9. 9 is positive, so my bigger number has to be positive, and my small number is negative. Next, the x. Alrighty, I'm going to put the 9x squared at the top and my c value negative 40 at the bottom. I'll put my negative 15 here, and I'll put my positive 24 here. Then I'm going to divide both of them by the a value, so that's my 9. Now you'll notice that not one of these is going to go into a whole number, but they can both be simplified. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right here. Negative 15 over 9, well, I can divide both of those by a 3, so that is 5/3. And remember, when we take this 3, I'm going to move it right here for my final one, so that's going to be a 3x minus 5. And then on this side, I'm going to have a x plus, 24 and 9 can also be divided by a 3, so that looks like an 8/3. And I'm going to bring this 3 right there and make that 3x plus 8. Now, if you're not sure you're right, what could you do? Well, FOIL it, distribute it, use the box method, somehow multiply it, and see if you get back to that 9x squared plus 9x minus 40. All right, I've got this one started for us. I multiplied the 5 times the 81 and got 405. I knew that I was looking for numbers that would subtract to get 36, since the 81 is negative. And I stopped my box when I got the 9 and the 45, because 45 minus 9 is 36. Since 36 is negative, my 45 will be negative and my 9 will be positive. All right, here we go. Here's my x. I'm going to put my top number here, my top term, and my last one here. I'm going to have a plus 9, and I'm going to have a minus 45. Remember, I'm not done. This is definitely not x plus 9 times x minus 45. It will not work. I've got to divide by that a value, so I'm going to divide by 5. All right, on this side, I have x plus 9/5. 9/5 cannot be simplified. But I need to remember to take that denominator and make it be the coefficient in front of the x. And so I have, and that's a 9. It almost looks like an 8, but there you go, or an a. 5x plus 9. Alrighty. On this side, negative 45 divided by 5 can simplify to negative 9. So it's just going to be an x minus 9, and there's no need to move anything in front of the x. And so there you go. You are done. So how do you feel? Do you feel like you can try one on your own? Pause the video and try this one on your own. Once you're done, start the video to see if you have the correct answer. Well, if you got 5x plus 6 times x plus 4, you're fine. And I know I've said this before in a different video, but if you started with x plus 4 and your second binomial was 5x plus 6, that is okay. It does not matter which order they're in. Take a look. If you need to pause the video so you can see what I did, and then go have some fun working on some practice problems.